Alright, this video is for the use case Redesign Document View. It's really hard when you're really not changing the flow of anything to make the pre and post conditions make sense. So when we're not using them the way you taught us to, Keith, we're just sort of using them the way they make sense to us. And the same goes for the primary flows. So these are really all cosmetic changes. There's no change at all in how things actually work. A couple of small flow changes, but anyway. So we're doing the best we can, but I'm going to give you the tour. Just so you understand, language, John and I agreed that henceforth we're going to begin referring to this view here as the document view, because that's what we're trying to do, is make it as much like a document as possible. Okay, so we want to redesign the user interface of the document view just to make it much more document-like, a little more like Word, a little more like Google Docs again. And so I created a graphic that is in the use case, and I will use that in this demonstration as well. And so first I'm going to, perhaps it would be most instructional to work back and forth between that. And we could just sort of work with that graphic. So here's the graphic of the new interface. All really fairly cosmetic changes, hopefully not too challenging. And I'll just sort of move back and forth. So the first piece is, number one is remove the automated confidentiality statement. And so that is this piece here. It's not, we researched other reports, it's not the way people are doing. This is a common one. But since user choice was such an issue at Roland, we decided just to let them have a user-edited confidentiality statement. There's really no need to force ours on them. A lot of them are adding a lot of legal text now, so this thing is kind of outdated. So just delete it and get rid of it, and we're just gonna use a standard report section for the confidentiality statement, and then they can have it however they want. Number two in the use case is remove from view the automated incomplete list. So that's all of this. These are going to look, they check whether or not the user has checked a report section as complete. So you know what, I'm going to change templates, because this is, oops, just a really cruddy template. I'll go to this one. This will be fine. Alright, so that list is just in the way, and they actually can access, it looks at this check mark, right, which is done inside here. Now, they can still take advantage of that functionality just by looking and seeing this check mark. And we think that this is just overkill and removes, just clutters the thing up. So we want it turned off. We don't want you to delete it completely, because that's good functionality for us to ask the users how we want to reintroduce it in the future. So number three is change the green menu bar to blue. And so here's the mock-up of the new Cirrus interface. This looks a lot more like Word, a lot more like Google Docs. Google Docs makes use of blue. We're not straight up in love with this blue color, but you had said we can all sit down and work through the coloring. But as you can see in the mock-up, with all of the clutter removed, it really does look like a document, like a psychoeducational report. Looks like a document, very much so, and that's where we want to get to. So all good there. So number 4, redesign the student info bar. Okay, so we did quite a bit of changing to this, but no additional functionality at all. So what happens to display the student info at the top of the report here if you want to see, right? So you've got the student's birth date and you got the student's name, and then I can hit this drop down arrow if I want to see it. This is ugly and kludgy and it doesn't look like a document. So we just want you to remove this arrow so that they can no longer open that student info bar. And you know, whatever functionality remains back there is fine with us. We don't care. You can see in the mock-up we removed the label of current report, and we just put the student's name. We removed the label of date of birth and put the date of birth in. We took compliance reminders and its little drop-down menu, because this is good functionality. We want to keep these front and center because all of the administrators we presented to like it. We just moved it over here to the right-hand side of the student bar, and when you hit the arrow, we want it to open up just like it does now. So it should be no change in functionality at all, just moving it to a different position. And then we added the evaluation type. So this data and this are both just coming from whatever you do in the student info screen, because we make that selection here in the student info screen, and so this is what will display in both of those spots. Pretty straightforward, really no change. And the two huge functionalities, or three I should say, of the student info bar, while we were trying to design the changes so that you wouldn't have to really change anything, is that it really provides the user a way to have a reference point when they're moving around in other places of the system. It stays there and allows them to return quickly back to their report, so they can always get back to that document view, and also the ability to save and close just like a Word doc. So it does provide some very nice functionality. We wanted to make this as simple as possible. Alright, so the student info bar has to remain visible, and that's 4A, and functional anywhere that the user goes. 4B, change the color to light gray. As you can see in the mock-up, we want to have a light gray strip on top and then have the student info bar match that light gray. We feel like that's incorporating the colors and the design tenets of Word and Google Docs into it to make it somewhat more familiar. 4C, remove open arrow at far right. I covered that. We do not want this to function anymore. We just want it to stay closed just like this all the time. 4D, remove the compliance reminder button that opens the list and move it over to the left side. I covered that. 4E is add evaluation type to the right side of the student bar, which is here. I covered that. And so that is 4A through E. Now we're on to number 5. Remove the white strip at the top that contains Cirrus in blue, and just move log out on the left. So again, incorporating design features from Word and Google Docs. This just doesn't exist anywhere. It's taking up screen real estate and providing no value. So we just want it to look like this. So the very top of the screen would just be this. So you see a strip of gray, you have sign out here, you see your menu, and then you have your student information. That makes a whole lot more sense to us, and it's very simple, and we think provides a cleaner, more document-like look. Number 6, display student information from the Edit Student Report screen at the top of the student report. So that is this information. The evaluation type, which is pulling from the same field as here. The school district that is selected, and the these are the fields that John felt would be the ones they would want added. They do include most of the required fields, but these are just being pulled from the Edit Student Information screen. So just pulling them from here and displaying them there, and so obviously whatever data is entered into these fields, will display here. And if there's no data displayed, then obviously the field name will display and there won't be any data next to it. Very simple, nothing earth-shattering there. And back to document view. Number 7. Remove, delete automated report title field where you type the name in. So the report title is already covered. This is this type of report. It is an evaluation type will determine what the report type is, and why we would add this weird little your report title. It's just silly. It's just clutter. It's not something that exists in Word, so we don't need it. If they want to add an additional report title, they can certainly do it after they've downloaded it to Word. But all of the research we've done shows that the evaluation type is generally the report title. So we'll go with that and be comfortable. As you can see, it does create a very clean, very simplified, very document-like. One of the most popular, most extensive templates out there that we used as a reference is the Ventura County templates. These are actual Word templates that they built, and very much, I'll go into the edit document view. So we look very much like that, just with a whole lot more cool functionality that we can do things they can't. But initially, when they look at it, they're going to say, oh, this just looks like a document, just like we did in Word. Everybody is building, Word document templates to some degree. It's the popular way to go if you're having problems. So you can see we're getting much closer to actually really mirroring a document-like interface, and we think that our users will take to that very easily. So that brings us to number 8. Increase the width of the document view to 8.5 inches wide. This is essentially just increasing the width of the entire Cirrus screen to 8.5 inches wide. Why? Because that's how wide a piece of paper is. And we are trying to mirror a document. We have had users tell us that, and I actually widened this out, which you can do in Chrome. I widened this out to be almost 8.5, and it looks very nice. John and I both like the presentation, so it gives people a nice big workspace. Also thinking some of the screens that we're redesigning, like this one, the width will actually allow us to make these screens smaller, because we'll be able to use space better, and the screens will become shorter, so that'll be a benefit. Okay, so that's it for the use case for Redesign document view, and I hope this was explanatory and helpful.